So, hip openers, that's what today is about. However, it's not going to be just pigeon and double pigeon. Those are just one direction your hip goes. We're going to do all of the different movements that your hip is capable of. That being said, it's something that can injure your knees or your hamstring easily. So, Nicole's going to modify. And if you have hamstring or knee stuff, or if your hips are a challenge or your hamstrings are a challenge for you, you'll stay with her. Trust me, it'll be worth it in the long run. To start, you're going to lie down on your back in Shavasana. Legs wide, arms wide. Feel connected to the ground. And then for those of you that hips and hamstrings are kind of something that are a thing that come easily, it's not as difficult to hold your breath steady. But for those of you that those 2 points are a challenge, this is going to be a practice where focusing on your inhales as well as your exhales is really important. If you're holding your inhales, you're not exhaling, and that'll tend to cause the joint to feel a little constricted. So when you feel that, it's intense, pay attention to if you're holding your breath, and breathe steadily like you're going to here at the beginning. So start big, long, even inhales and exhales. And I just like big breaths at the beginning, so take a long, deep inhale through your nose. And then open your mouth and exhale that breath out. And that sense of release, go back to in and out through your nose, that sense of release with that exhale. Use that when you're in a pose that's intense in your hips. All right, and then open your eyes, hug your knees into your chest. So start with your shins and your thighs touching, unless that's really challenging, and then keep those 2 points parallel with one another at least. And then low back flat on the mat, shoulder heads heavy. Reach down and grab the edges of your feet and set up happy baby pose. So flex your ankles, stack them over top of your knees. Have your knees just as wide kind of as the edges of your shoulders. Keep flattening the back of your pelvis into the floor, your collarbones wide, and then you can pull your knees down as much as you'd like, keeping your spine long. And already, pay attention to if you're holding your breath, especially if happy baby, frankly, can be a big hip opener for a lot of people. And if it is, you'll notice right away you're holding your breath. Smooth inhales and exhales. And now you can, another direction of the hips. Knees will stay as wide as they are. You'll bring your feet together. Once your feet are together, grab the pinky edge. If this bugs your knees at all, you'll go back to happy baby. If not, you'll pull your feet down towards your chest, and your knees may widen out to the sides. Same thing again. Low back is flat, sit bones reaching forward, shoulders heavy so your collarbones are wide. And then not to get carried away or nuts at the beginning, but another direction of your hips. So you'll keep your legs kind of as wide as they are. You'll start to straighten your legs out to the sides of the room. Put your hands on your inner thighs instead of staying with holding the feet. And you'll pull your legs down any amount that you're ready to at the beginning. It can be very, very subtle. And just with this one, rolling the inner thighs a little towards the front of your mat, and then collarbones wide again. Good. And then from here, you're going to hug your knees back into your chest, but this time wrap your arms around the backs of your thighs. And then you'll start to straighten your legs out a little bit, pulling them down towards your chest and flexing your ankles or making Barbie feet. So just like you were in a forward fold but lying down, it'll be much softer than it would be seated. So this one you can let your low back round a little bit, and you can keep your knees fairly bent, but keep your inner thighs rolling up to the ceiling and the big toes touching. Right, so easiest way, lying down. A little bit harder, sitting up. So hug your knees in. Rock all the way up to seated and come into Sukhasana, cross legs. Shins cross in front of one another, ankles are flexed. So try not to pull your feet all the way back to your hips to start with. Have them out in front of you. Set that up, and then if you can shift forward, fine. Okay, sit up nice and tall. Reach your arms alongside your ears. And keep your sit bones anchored. Exhale, fold yourself forward. You can walk your hands out. You can put your hands underneath your forehead. And if this is intense, sitting in Sukhasana can be intense, frankly, as well. You can stay seated with your chest upright and just close your eyes and breathe there. So we're going to just progressively get more challenging into poses that open the hip further and further and further. So right now, second set, be mindful of your breath again. As it starts to get harder, that's what will go first. Smooth inhales and exhales. All right. Walk yourself all the way back up and change the cross of your legs. The other one in front. Reach your arms up on an inhale and exhale, fold forward and down. Whatever you did with your arms on the other side, do the same here. Get your sit bones firm into the mat. In this pose, your inner thighs roll up to the ceiling. Reach through your knees. And then same thing like you were doing on your back. Collarbones stay wide, chest forward. And walk yourself all the way back up. Extend your legs out in front of you. Bring the soles of your feet together and then draw your feet in just a third of the way towards you. So big, wide open diamond. Go further forward, Nicole. Good. Right, now from here, if this is a lot, you'll stay. If it's not, fold forward. You can walk your hands forward. You can grab your feet. And here you can round your back and let your neck relax. That's fine. Again, if it's in your outer knees, you come up and pull your feet all the way in and just sit up in Baddha Konasana. Don't fold forward yet. It's too early. Again, sit bones stay anchored. This one's the same. Inner thighs go up. This is just like when you were lying on your back and pulling your feet in. All right. And then walk yourself all the way back up. Put your feet on the floor, knees to the ceiling, hands next to your hips. You're going to pick yourself up from here and hang in a forward fold. Press up. Go into a standing forward fold, you goofballs. Holy mackerel. That was amazing. Right? Widen your feet all the way out and off of your mat. So they're hip distance and then further, feet on the floor. Grab your elbows and hang forward with bent knees. Okay. Right, so start with a nice soft bend in your knees, heels behind your second and third toe. It was like I was speaking a foreign language all of a sudden. Let the sides of your waist be long and your elbows heavy. And if you need to put a really big bend in your knees so you're not rounding your back, do that. This is about opening your legs today, opening your hips, your hamstrings. So slowly do it. You don't have to go nuts here yet, keeping them all the way straight and your back all round. Start to lift up through your thighs if your hamstrings feel a little more ready for that. Roll your inner thighs backwards to the back of your mat and hug your legs in. And now bring your hands down to the mat, heel toe your feet to mat distance apart. Or sorry, hip distance apart. It's me today. Apparently it's me. Grab your elbows and hang again. And again, now your legs are closer, so this is a little more challenging on your hamstrings. You can bend your knees even more if you need, so that your chest is pulling down towards the crown of your head. Nicole wants to sway. Fine, sway. Sway side to side. Who am I to say don't do that? All right, then start to lift up through your thighs again, straightening your knees any amount that your legs are ready now. All right, now bring your hands down to the mat and step into downward facing dog. All right. So pedal your feet back and forth. You can bend one knee, keep the other leg straight, sending your heel down into the mat, and then the other side. And just keep going with that. A couple of pedals of the feet. And keep pressing your hands down, hugging your outer arms in as your inner arm rolls up so your upper body feels stable. Right now, both legs straight. Send your heels straight down into the mat behind your second toe. And then inhale, glide yourself forward into plank pose and bring your shoulders forward over your wrists. Draw your belly in. Send your tailbone to your heels, the weight back through your heels, but then sternum or the top of your chest pulling forward towards the crown of your head. And shift forward. On your exhale, lower yourself halfway down into chaturanga. And inhale, push up into plank pose. And exhale, pull back into down dog. Right now we'll do that on the breath. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, push straight up. Exhale, pull back. And do 2 more of those on your own. You're always free to drop your knees to the mat. And you can also skip them and stay in downward facing dog or just shift down dog, plank, down dog, plank. When you're done with your second one, you'll end up in downward facing dog and just hold there. Good. So from this downward facing dog, stretch your right leg up and back, open your right hip, and bend your right knee. Okay. So once you do open, bend, stretch, lift your right knee up, Nicole. Up, 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 up. Turn your hip open. Ah, there we go. Ah. Keep your chest square to the floor. Good. Roll your inner right thigh towards the right side of the room. Draw your heel to your sit bone. And then inhale, glide yourself forward to plank pose with your leg like this. And exhale, bring your right knee to the back of your right tricep. Okay, squeeze the knee and the outer arm together. Shoulders square to the front of your mat. Back leg straight and strong. Good. Now pull your right knee into your nose. Round your back. Step your right foot up between your hands. Come up onto your fingertips. Okay, press your back leg straight and send some weight back through your left heel. Pull your sternum forward. Right. And now you're going to just keep the back leg straight and drop your hips forward towards your right heel. You may feel a stretch in the front of your left thigh. If you don't, you're probably pretty open in your psoas, so you'll just stay dropping forward. Janice, move your right foot forward and make sure, just like Janice had to do, that your ankle is directly underneath your knee. You don't want to let your knee go further forward than that. And then slow motion. Lower your left knee down and back into the mat. Scoot your right foot to the right a couple of inches. Bring both hands to the inside of your foot. Stay on your palms for a moment. Turn your right toes out to the right corner of your mat. Now flex your right ankle so that your heel is the only thing touching the floor. Now stay here and start to let your right knee fall open to the right. If it bothers your knee, you'll go back to just having it facing straight forward. Okay, if this is not enough, it's very early, but we've done some hip stuff already. If you want to go to your elbows, you can drop down to your elbows, keeping your collarbones wide. If you want to really go for it at the beginning, back toes under and lift the back knee up. Nicole, stay where you are. Good. Okay, and then slow, even breaths. This is like a one-legged Baddha Konasana. Then hug that knee back to center. Turn your toes forward. Come up onto your hands. Press back into plank pose. From plank pose, exhale, lower halfway down into chaturanga. Inhale, press straight up to plank. Exhale, press up and back down dog. We haven't done an up dog yet. Stretch your left leg up and back in open bend stretch. It would be uneven to do it at this point. Okay, so chest stays square to the floor. And doing an external rotation in your left hip, opening it. So you can think about the inner left thigh rolling towards the left side of the room, the outer hip pulling back, and the heel drawing down. Then you'll hold all of that. Inhale to plank. Exhale, knee to tricep with the same rotation in your hip. Chest square, just like it was in down dog. Back leg straight and heel pulling back like it was in down dog. Okay, and then bring your knee to your nose and round your back. Good. And then look forward, step your foot between your hands. Stay up on your back toes, come up onto your fingertips. Press your back leg straight and send some weight through your back heel. And then you'll start to lunge yourself further and further forward. If your knee moves past your ankle, move your left foot forward more so that doesn't happen. Just keep squeezing your thighs together so your left knee faces straight ahead for this. Good. And then from here, lower your back knee down and back, uncurl the toes. Move your left foot to the side, bring both hands in, turn your left toes out, knee and toes facing the same direction, flex the ankle, let the knee fall open. If you're going to the elbows, so be it. If you're lifting your back leg like you did on the other side, you can go for that. Again, you're going for that kind of edge where it's like, this is definitely opening, but it's not so much that I'm not breathing and not so much that I'm going to know about it tomorrow to the point where you can't move. That's not worth it. Like, you're looking for a good amount, enough, not an injury amount. And it's on you to kind of decide where that is, but always err on the side of caution. And then bring your knee back to center first. Turn the toes forward. Come up onto your hands. Press into plank pose. Now you get to do it. Shift forward. Exhale halfway into chaturanga. Now flip your toes. Inhale, upward facing dog, chest up and wide. And exhale, press up and back, downward facing dog. Good. All right. Look forward. Bend your knees. Hop or step your feet all the way to between your hands. Feet land together or bring them there, and then inhale, chest up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come up to standing, arms alongside your ears. And exhale, hands to your heart. Right, a few times through the A's, just for heat. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, Uttanasana, fold forward. Inhale, pull your chest wide and forward. Exhale, hop or step, chaturanga, elbows bent. Good. Inhale, lift your chest up, knees off your mat. Exhale, press back and shift from your hips, down dog. Okay, so because this is a hip opening class, there's some engagement in your hip flexors that you need in order to stretch your hamstrings. You'll get that by lifting your quads up, so kneecaps up towards the crease of your hips. And the muscles in the crease of your hips, if you engage them, they'll send your sit bones further back, folding you there. And then send your heels down into the floor. Look forward, bend your knees, press your hands down, hop or step. Inhale, chest up. Exhale to fold. Inhale, come up to standing. And exhale, join your hands together. Again, inhale, arms up. Exhale, Uttanasana, fold yourself down. Inhale, chest forward, look up. Exhale, walk or hop, Chaturanga. Okay. Inhale, press your toes down, lift your sternum up. Exhale, shift back, downward facing. Good. Give your legs a little more juice in your thighs. Roll them in so your heels are behind your second and third toe. And then do that a little bit more. Inner thighs back without letting your heels move. Hug your legs together, and you'll stabilize your sacrum, or the lowest part of your spine. And look forward. Hop or step again. And we'll do it one more time. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold Uttanasana. Inhale, come up to standing. And exhale, hands to heart center. One more time. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, chest up. And exhale, Chaturanga. Janice is going much slower right now. Inhale, up dog. If this was synchronized diving, exhale, downward facing dog. You would be like totally out of sync. Be failing. Good. All right, from here, do the same thing we did a moment ago, but inhale, shift forward into plank pose. Exhale, pick your right foot up. Inhale, turn the toes out to the right. Exhale, bring your right knee to the back of your right arm. Good. Hug those 2 points together. Keep your knee touching your arm and your shoulders square. Bring your right foot just towards the midline of your mat a little bit more so the inner thigh is rolling up. Good. Now bring your knee to your nose, round your back a lot, make space for your foot, and then step your right foot between your hands. Spin your back heel flat, line up heel to arch. Keep your right hip under your body and cartwheel yourself open on an inhale to warrior two. Okay, so widen your stance out enough that your right shin bone will be completely perpendicular if you bend your right knee to 90 degrees. Anchor your back foot, straighten your back leg. It's all about the hip today, so right hip is called an external pose. You'll press your right heel down. You're looking to externally rotate that hip joint, so you'll do it by rolling your inner thigh up to the ceiling and pulling your right hip under your body towards the center line of your mat, so your hip and knee face straight ahead over your second toe. And then you'll hold on to that. You have to do work in your hip to turn your chest away from that until your collarbones get square. They'll square with the side of your mat, and then you'll reach your arms apart. Hold your eyes still. And then you're just going to add that same amount of flexion or folding in your right hip that you just did in down dog a moment ago. You're going to do that here. So hold your lower body as it is. On an inhale, start to reach for the front of your mat, hinging at your right hip crease. Then put your right hand to the outside edge of your right foot and stretch your left arm up to the ceiling. Okay, if you get there and anything in your lower body has changed, you can always put a block under your right hand or have your elbow on your knee. Turn your top palm to the front of your mat and reach that arm alongside your ear with a straight elbow. Come back to what your hips are doing. Back leg, it's going to just be an anchor. Outer edge of your foot glues, leg is straight. Right heel presses down. The knee faces straight ahead. Take your right hip underneath your body by thinking about the muscles in the outer right hip engaging. It's your glutes. You'll use them to drag the hip under. Then turn your chest away from that, left ribs up to the ceiling until your collarbones stack over top of one another. Take your top arm back up to the ceiling, look down, and inhale, bring yourself back up to warrior two, nice and gracefully for one breath. And then exhale, hands down to the mat into a high lunge. Come up onto your back toes, set your back leg up like a plank pose, press your hands down like plank pose. Right, from here, you're going to bring your right knee to the back of your right arm again, like you entered into this sequence. Right, once you're there, leave the knee and the arm together. You're going to start to drag your right foot across towards your left wrist. Go for it. Keep your right knee on your arm, Nicole. Bring the foot across. Ah, brilliant. Good. Janice from here is going to go into single pigeon. Nicole's going to step back into plank pose, lower her knee down, and swing around to lying down on her back. Right? She's going to set up into thread the needle, right ankle over left knee and hugging that in. So if you can get both hips on the floor and single pigeon does not in any way bother your right knee, you're going to do that. Otherwise, thread the needle is the exact same thing. It's just a little easier on the knees. Then you treat this just like you were just doing the standing pose. Back leg is nice and straight and strong. It's neutral, you reach through the toes. If you're doing thread the needle, the toes face straight up. Right ankle is flexed or the foot is engaged in some way. The inner thigh rolls up to the ceiling, so your right hip gets heavier towards the floor. And if you're doing thread the needle, your inner right thigh rolls towards you, so the knee moves wide. If you're in single pigeon, you're going to press yourself back into plank. If you're lying on your back, uncross your legs, rock up to seated, and then press back into plank and take a vinyasa to down dog. Good. Okay, side 2. Inhale, shift forward to plank pose. Exhale, pick your left foot up. Inhale, turn the toes out to the side. Exhale, bring the knee to the back of your arm. Okay, once those 2 points are connected, shoulders square and elbows straight, keep the knee connected. Just foot across to the midline of your mat a little bit so the inner thigh goes up, the foot comes towards your right wrist. Good. Okay, same rotation you're going to do in a moment in the standing poses. Now knee to your nose, round your back, foot between your hands, lower your back heel, line up heel to arch, hug your hip under your body and cartwheel open on an inhale to warrior 2. Okay, so warrior 2 doesn't seem like a hip opener, but it is. It's just an engaged hip opener. So to get your hips open in single pigeon, in double pigeon, you have to work them in the standing poses. Otherwise, they'll never really go anywhere. Okay, so back leg straight, outer edge of your foot sending it down. Front heel anchors, front knee straight ahead. Work, outer hip. Wrap it under your body so the inner thigh feels like it's moving up. Then you hold that. Engage those muscles, hold them steady, turn your chest away from your inner thigh until your collarbones square off with the side of your mat. Reach your arms apart and hold your gaze over your left fingers. And there's not a lot of fidgeting that's going to happen. It's simply a hinge from your left hip like you did in down dog. On an inhale, you'll reach for the front of your mat, hinge at your left hip crease, put your left hand to the outside of your foot, and take your top arm straight up. Good. If you modify it on the other side, modify exactly the same way on this side. Firm your inner right thigh to the ceiling, outer foot anchored, hip underneath of you, knee straight ahead. Same as you did in warrior 2 just a moment ago. Turn your chest open, stack your right collarbone over your left, and turn your top palm to the front of your mat, reaching that arm over. A couple of breaths. You're just in a different looking external, just like you're going to be in a moment when you either do thread the needle or you do single pigeon. All right, take your top arm up, look down, inhale, bring yourself back up to warrior 2. And then exhale, hands down to the mat, come up on your back toes and plant your hands down like plank. When you feel stable in your upper body, you'll pick your left foot up, bring the knee to your left tricep. Good. And just for a moment, even if you're going to thread the needle, hold the knee there, bring your left foot across towards your right wrist. If you're going into single pigeon, you'll drop it down, single pigeon. If you're not, left foot goes back, plank pose, knees down, swing around, lie down, and cross your left ankle over your right knee. Okay, so there's not a turning of the chest necessarily like there is in the standing poses you just did, but all the leg and hip stuff is the same. Either your back leg is straight, you reach through the toes, the inner thigh wraps to the ceiling. If you're laying on your back, make sure your right toes are facing up so that leg is neutral. And then the left leg, to get it open, outer hip is going to work, knee draws wide. If you're in single pigeon, outer hip rolls down towards the mat, inner thigh up, and you keep your foot engaged so you protect your knee. All right. If that was the end, if that was all you could do with your hips, that would be the end of the hip opening class. There's more things you can do, so let's do them. All right. So either rock up to seated, uncross your legs, then press back into plank, or go from single pigeon into plank and vinyasa to down dog. Good. Okay. Look forward, bend your knees, hop or step to the front of your mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, bend your knees and drop into chair pose with your arms alongside your ears. Just a couple of breaths, weight back into your heels, sit deeply, tailbone reaching a couple of inches behind your heels, then chest up, maybe gaze up. Last breath, you can touch your palms if your elbows will remain straight. Exhale, fold forward, straighten your legs. Inhale, pull your chest to the front of your mat. Exhale, step your left leg all the way back. Okay, end up in a high lunge. Once you're here, drop your back knee down, uncurl the toes, straighten your right leg out and fold forward for just a couple of breaths. Okay, keep your right toes facing up, hands under your shoulders, collarbones wide, and thighs hugging together. So especially if you have knees that go beyond straight. So if you can walk your knees out, you're probably one of them. A little bit of a micro bend in your knee isn't enough. You're going to think micro bend the knee by engaging your hamstring. Then engage your quad with that. So it feels like all the muscles around your entire upper leg are working. Now bend your right knee. Curl your back toes under. Lift your back knee up off of the mat. Good. Okay, widen your collarbones again. Inhale, bring yourself up into crescent pose and reach your arms alongside your ears. Okay. Once you're up, just bring your hands right back down to your hips today. Not worrying as much about the spine. Bend your back knee a decent amount. Pull your belly in, get your tailbone to reach straight down. Right. Now hold your hips level where they are. Without letting them change, start on an inhale to press your back leg a little straighter. Good. And then exhale, re-bend your back knee, bend your front knee all the way to 90, pull your belly in again, and then on your next inhale, keep your hips like that and press your back leg as straight as it'll go, probably a good amount of opening in the front of your left thigh. And then last breath, reach your arms out to the side, inhale, stretch them up alongside your ears, maybe look up and bring your palms together. Exhale, hands down to the mat, keep them under your shoulders, lower your left knee way down and back. Okay. This time, if this is enough, you can just lunge your hips forward. Otherwise, with your right hand, loop your left foot and twist your chest to the right. Okay. Once you have hold of the back foot, look at your left toes and have them facing straight up. Hug your hips square to the front of your mat or to the floor, whatever makes more sense. Right knee faces straight ahead. And then you can lunge forward as much as you like. If you can drop to your left elbow, that's fine. It makes me see fire and flames behind my eyes, so I stay on my hand. And then let go of your back leg. Come up onto your hands, press into plank pose, and vinyasa back to downward facing dog. All right, look forward, walk or hop your feet between your hands. Inhale, chest up. Exhale and fold. Inhale, Utkatasana chair, arms alongside your ears. And just again, 5 breaths. Sit deep, chest up. Low back lengthening by sending your tailbone down. Then maybe look up, arms straight, make that important. And then if your palms touch, that's fine. Exhale, fold forward, legs straight again. Inhale, collarbones wide, look up. And then exhale, send your right leg back into the high lunge this time. Okay. Once you're in the high lunge, onto your fingertips, press your back leg nice and straight. Widen your collarbones. Good. Lower your back knee down, uncurl the toes, straighten your left leg out, and fold forward. Keep your collarbones wide like you just established in the high lunge. Left toes up, thighs hugging. And then again, to protect your hamstring connections, maybe a micro bend in your knee, but that just means work your hamstring. Once the back of your thigh engages, you re-engage the front of your thigh. I like to think about it like my upper thighs feeling like they have Spanx around them and holding them in. Despite, I've never worn Spanx, but I imagine that's what they would feel like. They're amazing. All right, bend your left knee. Put your foot back underneath of it. Come up onto your fingertips, curl your back toes under, and lift that knee up. And then on an inhale, bring yourself up into crescent pose, arms up for a breath. And then hands back down to your hips. Bend your back knee a good amount. Pull your belly back, tailbone down. Okay, now you're looking for that same shape in your lower back so you can really open your psoas. On an inhale, start to press your back leg straighter, reach through the back heel. Good. Exhale, rebend the back knee, bend your front knee even more. Hold. And then inhale, press your back leg even straighter. Keep drawing the belly back so you're opening the front of your right thigh. And then reach your arms up alongside your ears. Last breath. Look up and touch if you did on the other side. And then exhale, hands down to the mat. Keep them under your shoulders. Lower your right knee down and back so that you're on the top of your knee, not on the kneecap. Reach back with your left hand and loop your right foot. Right toes straight up. You can see them. Might as well make sure. Turn your chest open, keeping your left knee facing ahead. And then you can lower to your right elbow if you'd like. And so part of your hips are your hip flexors, the thing we were working before to fold. Here, you're opening them. So for some of us, they're very tight, especially if you sit at a desk all the time. Or if you run, they're tight and they're strong. Or cycle. Okay. Let go of your back foot, come up onto your hands, plank pose, or step back if you're already there, and lower down into a vinyasa and back into down dog. All right, little more heat into the bees. So we're just going to flow through them today, 2 of them. Look forward, walk or hop to the front of your mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, and exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, chair pose. And exhale, stand up, hands to your heart, mountain pose. Okay, 2 times through the bees. Inhale, sit back, Utkatasana. Exhale, fold. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, downward facing. Right foot, step it all the way through to your hands. Spin your back heel flat. Inhale up to warrior 1. Do that same thing, hip points up that you did in crescent. Exhale, hands down, step back and through on your breath, back to down dog. Okay, left foot, glide it forward, right heel down. Inhale, rise all the way up. And then exhale, hands down, lower slow. Take a big inhale, widen your collarbones. And exhale, fold forward, down dog. Hold, just 3 breaths. Keep pressing the hands evenly, outer arms firming in, work from your legs as well. Look forward, walk or hop. Get your feet all the way forward and then inhale, chest up. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, bend your knees, take your arms alongside your ears. And exhale, rise to stand, hands to your heart, mountain pose. 1 more time. Inhale, drop into chair. Exhale, straighten your legs and fold. Inhale, look forward, shoulders back. Exhale, belly in, Chaturanga. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, fold at your hips. Right foot forward, warrior 1 on an inhale. Exhale, hands down and through a vinyasa to down dog. Good. Okay, once you get back into down dog, left side, bring the foot forward, right heel spins flat, come all the way up. And then hands down and through a vinyasa, end up back in downward facing dog again. Good. Okay. Once you're in downward facing dog, just hold a couple of breaths. All right. Step your right foot forward. Spin your back heel flat. Walk yourself to the left. Turn your toes to face the same direction. Keep your knees straight. Okay. Inhale, stretch your chest forward. And then exhale, fold forward, Prasarita Padottanasana A. Janice, your feet are not even. There we go. Good. Okay, so lift up through your thighs. Kneecaps up towards the crease of your hips. Inner thighs rolling in towards one another and squeezing together. And then stretch your front body forward, widening your collarbones. Shoulders up away from your ears. If your elbows are bent, you set up your arms just like Chaturanga. And then inhale, pull your chest forward and look up. Exhale, bring your hands to your hips. And with a flat back inhale, up to standing. Okay, turn your right toes out to face the front of your mat. Pick up your back foot, turn the toes in and step it forward a good 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet. So you have a very short stance. Okay, and then not so much about the upper body today. So just take fists behind your back, press them together. Press your feet down, engage your thighs again. Inhale, lift your chest up and widen your collarbones. And exhale, hinge at your hips and fold forward. Once you've folded about halfway, make sure your collarbones feel like they're folding squarely towards the floor. Hinge at your hip crease and fold any amount more without rounding your back. Keep working from the legs. Quads up, but engaging your hamstrings as well. Thighs will hug together. Good. And then from here, you're going to release your hands down to the mat. Bend your right knee, step your left foot further back into a really high lunge again. Then lower your back knee down to the mat and straighten your right leg out, pulling the toes back towards you. Okay, now, once you're here, you're either going to stay in the runner's lunge like Nicole. This is a perfectly good hamstring stretch. You can even work to move the heel a little further forward, but collarbones wide, and just work to keep your spine long. Otherwise, you're going to move into Hanumanasana. Right? So Janice is going to move her front knee back, or front heel forward, or back knee back, keeping her hips square until she gets to a point where she's kind of hovering midair. You might hit the floor, but you're looking to keep your hips square, so it might not happen as well. You'll put a block underneath the sit bone that's lifted up in the air, so you're grounded. Then lift your hip points like you did in that crescent pose, and widen your collarbones. Right toes up, left toes reaching down into the mat like up dog. Okay, if you can float your arms up, float your arms up and make sure that you're sitting on something and you're not hovering midair doing that. It's really not worth it, I can promise you that. And then this is a challenging place to be. Long, deep breaths again. Good. And then hands will come back down to the mat and come out of Hanumanasana very slowly. So press down to lift yourself up. And then from here, press yourself back into plank pose and take a vinyasa to down dog. All right, last side of the standing stuff. So left foot, step it forward, and then walk yourself quarter turn to the right and turn your feet parallel with one another. This time, hook your big toes once your feet are parallel. Inhale, pull your chest forward, and exhale, fold forward, take your elbows out. Right. Inner thighs, wrap them back towards the wall you're facing, hug your legs together. And then you're folding at your hip crease. It's that same thing I was talking about. As you lift your kneecaps up, you engage one of the muscles that you need to bring your hip points down to your thighs. And when you think about that, you can continue with it, folding deeper there, and then lift your sternum to your chin so your front body lengthens out. Good. Inhale, pull your chest forward, look up. Exhale, hands to your hips, and with a flat back inhale to standing. Turn your left toes to the front, pick your back foot up, pivot the toes in somewhat, heel to heel, and square everything off to the front. And again, fists behind your back for this. Right. Press your feet down, squeeze your thighs all the way around, inhale, chest wide, and exhale, fold forward halfway. Balance front to back, side to side, evenly in your feet. Keep your collarbones wide, and then start to fold at your left hip crease like you were doing in Prasarita Padottanasana a moment ago. It's that muscle. Well, it's one of them. There's a bunch of them that are doing it, but that'll initiate it in your mind. And pay attention to if your chest is square to the floor. You're going to Hanumanasana. Eventually, your chest squares all the way to the front of your mat. Well, frankly, right from the get-go, so you can practice that here. All right, hands down. Step your left leg or right leg all the way back to the high lunge. Lower your back knee down. Straighten your left leg out, toes to the ceiling. Okay. Nicole's going to stay here. She's going to work to fold further and further from her left hip, keeping her collarbones wide. Janice is going to scoot the heel forward, back knee back. When you get to that edge, we need it higher on this side. You're going to have to decide. Oh, wait. Nope. Right. Hips stay square. Draw the belly in, tailbone down like you did in crescent, chest up and wide, and then maybe float the arms up. There's an effort of drawing your left hip back, right hip forward, inner right thigh to the ceiling. And again, that breath, it's the thing that's really important, so make sure it's moving the same way it was at the beginning when you were lying down. And then bring your hands down and slowly come out of this into plank pose and through a vinyasa to down dog. I wish I had somebody in my class to move my blocks for me. Good. All right, take a nice big inhale through your nose and out through your mouth. Look forward, and you'll either hop or drop your knees and swing around and land on your back. Lie down. Right, so we're just going to do a couple of bridge poses. This was about hips and hamstrings, just for it to be well-rounded so you're not folding forward the whole time. We're going to do just 2 bridges. So feet hip distance. On an inhale, lift your hips, keeping your knees over top of your ankles. Wiggle your shoulders under and interlace your fingers. And then just 5 or so breaths there, widening your collarbones by pressing your outer shoulder down, feet evenly grounded. Your feet are a little close to you, Nicole. Yeah. And they're a little wide, huh? Your hips are not that wide. All women think their hips are way wider than they are. And then arms apart, slowly lower yourself down. Okay, just pause. And we'll do one more, and then we'll do more hips. All the same things we've done, just the deepest variation now. All right, press your feet down, up you go, 5 breaths into bridge pose. I think that was 5. I'm going with that it was. Arms apart, lower down. All right, hug your right knee into your chest and reach your right leg out on the mat. Twist to the left, reach your right arm to the side and look over it. You're welcome. That's my new job, block mover. Okay, come back up and do the other side. So just a moment to come back to your breathing. The final stage of all these poses, we're just going to repeat all the directions that the hips go in, but in a seated position, the deepest one. It's not enough just to kind of get up there and hope that eventually you'll flop forward into them. There's some work that you have to do if your hips tend to be a little tighter. So we'll talk about that. But know that, again, it's going to be about breathing soft and steady and allowing your body to move into the shape, even when it's challenging. Right, come on back up, you two. Hug your knees in. Rock all the way up to seated. Reach your legs in front of you. Hands next to your hips, Dandasana. Okay, so feet all the way together. Flex your ankles so your toes face up. Inhale, reach your arms up alongside your ears. Think about the crease of your hips. Fold from there as you exhale. Grab your feet, grab your shins. Inhale, re-lengthen your spine, sit bones stay anchored, and then exhale, fold yourself forward. Right, so if you're really high up in the air, if your chest isn't near your thighs, it's fine. You're not looking for your nose to ever touch your knees. You're looking for your sternum to reach forward, that length in the front body. So you'll start with your legs. They have to work. Heels press, thighs press, sit bones press down. When all of those things are pressing into the mat, your hamstrings will have the opportunity to open. And then from that, you pull your chest forward further and further. Be very mindful of your sit bones staying on the ground, especially if you're a little bendier. And inhale, pull your chest forward, look up. Pause for an exhale. Inhale, sit yourself all the way up. Okay, bring the soles of your feet together, and this time you'll pull your feet all the way in for Baddha Konasana. So once your feet are all the way in, if you can, press the pinky edge of your foot together. Okay, that might just engage the outer hips. You'll feel your knees draw down a little tiny bit. If you can continue with that and turn the soles of your feet up towards the ceiling, then continue with it. But keep the pinky edge engaged. It works the outer hips. Now inhale, sit up tall, and with a flat back, holding your feet, exhale, fold forward, and keep your elbows hugged in to the sides of your waist. Good. Keep propelling your sternum forward as your sit bones root down. So a few breaths here with the flat back, and then you'll go into a little bit more passive version of it in your upper body, but your legs will stay working. So I have a lot of students, clients that say, my knees are way up in the air, they're never going to go down. Some of that is the shape of your hip joint. Some of that's completely true. But some of it is just because hoping your knees will come down one day is not enough. And if you can't press them with your hands, which you don't want to do because it'll hurt your knees, what do? Think about the outer hip muscles, the ones that you're engaging by pushing your pinky toes together. That draws the knees down. Over time, as those muscles strengthen, your inner thighs open and your knees will drop. Right now, you can let go of your feet, keep your legs working. You can walk your hands forward. You can put your forehead or your hands under your forehead, whatever you like. All right, and then slowly inhale, walk yourself back up. So Upavista Konasana now, wide-legged forward fold. So turn yourself a little sideways, or you can stay facing forward if you have the room. If your heels bug you, if they're on something hard, turn sideways so your heels are on the mat. And then legs are wider than 90, but not a huge amount. Toes face straight up. So if it's hard to even sit up here tall, put your hands behind you. Use your fingertips pressing down to lift your chest up. Otherwise, keeping your toes facing the ceiling and your sit bones down, fold yourself forward. So this is just like Prasarita Padottanasana, that standing wide-legged forward fold that you do. You send your toes straight up. What your body does, it'll depend on your openness. Some of you, your toes will roll in, some they'll roll open. Get them to the ceiling, anchor your sit bones. Press your heels and thighs and sit bones down evenly. Hug your legs together without letting them move, and then pull your chest forward from there. Good. And so it might feel less satisfying, especially if you're really bendy, to keep all of this anchor in the legs and the hips on the mat. But it will protect your low back over time, and I can say from experience that that's really important. I was very floppy my whole life, and I have some injuries that I've had to cope with because of that. It's not important that you lie with your chest on the floor. It's important that you find stability in your lower body first. And then slowly, on an inhale, bring yourself all the way back up. Swing your legs around to the front of your mat again, and you're set up into double pigeon. So right ankle on top, left ankle underneath. If this is too much, you can go back to doing what you were doing before, doing thread the needle on your back. Otherwise, you'll fold forward and double pigeon. Okay. Ankles flexed. So toes and kneecap all in one line, never letting them sickle from one side to the other. Those are just a straight shot. Then you fold forward. Your knees are protected. Okay. If you have one knee that's way up in the air here, you can stay seated. And then you're going to work your outer hip like you did in Warrior Two, like you did in side angle, to take the knee down. You go slowly. You engage those muscles until they stretch the inner thighs enough that the knee drops. And then walk yourself back up and change the crossing of your legs. Put the other one on top. If you're on your back, just change ankle over knee, other side, and pull it in. And then fold forward again. Come back to your breathing, soft and smooth. And if your knees are not right touching your ankles yet, do the work. It's not easy. You have to work the outer left hip. Knee will draw down. It might not go anywhere. You can't actually see it going anywhere, but it will stretch your inner thigh doing that. And then inhale, sit yourself all the way back up. And stretch your legs out in front of you. Exhale, lower yourself all the way down onto your back and into Shavasana again, same place you began. So nice and wide with your legs and arms, eyes closed, nothing touching you to bug you, something over your eyes if you need to keep it there to keep your eyes closed. And then complete softness and relaxation throughout your body. Let your breath return back to its kind of uneven, passive state. And treat yourself to a good amount of rest after that. Shavasana.